I'm here in the northern part of Australia, in the top end, with a giant termite mound. But this morning I was asked by somebody, what had I picked up spiritually in this region? I've been 3 times to Darwin and across the island land, across the north of Australia. And I think it's really interesting that we actually stop and consider, what spiritual atmosphere am I living in? So, because often when we're in that spiritual atmosphere, we don't actually realize the impact that may be having on us and on everything we do. I felt it very strongly in Chicago, in the States, in Lyon, in France, and in lots of places in Spain, that the atmosphere is actually having an impact on us, but we live there, we're not aware. So I want to just share, think about this. In your own region, what might be having an impact? Here in Darwin, I have come and I have often had nightmares. I've had a sense of being challenged to say, well, who do you think you are? I've had a sense of hopelessness that just sweeps over me, and a sense of that there's no way forward, that I might as well just give up. Even a sense of suicide, although of course not for me, but just that heavy, heavy oppression over the region. So if that's going on all the time, it affects our ability to actually function normally, and it will affect our relationship with people. I actually remember the first couple of times I came to Darwin, there was this sense of, who do you think you are and what authority do you have to come and speak into this region? And I think it's something that is in the atmosphere. I think here in the north of Australia there is a gateway, a place where the first people who came to Australia crossed from the islands to the north and came into this land and created a gateway. And that gateway is now guarded by spirits that have been here for generations and are being fed by the sin of a land. And so the issue of knowing what you're dealing with and knowing how to protect yourself from it is really, really important. One of the other things that I've noticed here in the territory is how communication is difficult. I've been up here and my phones have malfunctioned, my computer is smashed. I have felt separated from my intercessors, separated from people who knew I was up here, not able to communicate easily. It's just very much harder. And so that sense of isolation increases in places where there is strong demonic activity. The idea is that we are separated from other people who would support us, who would encourage us, who would say, keep going, you're on the right track. And so it manifests physically. Very easy to say, the distances are vast here in Australia. The distance from one settlement to another, between one Christian community and another, are quite great. And so it's very easy to just say, oh well, it's just the distance. But in fact, I believe very, very strongly that there is a spiritual component to this that is designed to separate Christians from each other. And so we become very focused with just the Christians around us, rather than finding an outrigger outside the region, an extra part to our canoe that helps us to be stable. We tend to be very focused on our own little group, and we don't think kingdom of God. We don't think missionary aviation fellowship is in this region as well, that Christian schools are in this fellowship, there's churches in this fellowship. We tend to get very, very focused on just surviving because of the pressure and the oppression that's in an atmosphere. And so it just builds, and there's always a human reason that we can say, well, this is what's going on. But when you come in from outside, you can actually feel it, and feel it change. I remember I went out of one specific place, one of the darkest places up here in the top end, and I got in a plane and I flew out to the next place. 10 kilometers out, it suddenly lifted. And the same thought that I was having that was taking me down suddenly rose up and went in the opposite direction. And I felt this thing lift off me. Spiritual oppression is very real, but it's very difficult to get your hands on. And so I would encourage you to find people from outside your region to help you try to map what's going on. Because it's like going into a war in Iraq with a national flag of the enemy on your chest, without a flak vest or without a helmet or without any weapons. We need to understand the war, and we need to understand the enemy. Not focus on him, not give him any more glory than he needs, but we need to know what we're fighting against. because that's the only way we're going to win this war.